I've got another review video for you guys today. This is Lionel's new VisionLine Fright Sounds Boxcar that just got released from their 2021 Volume 1 catalog. I'm real excited about this car. This thing is awesome. I can't say enough about it. I got it a couple days ago. I was able to play with it. I ended up reading the whole manual, and I can't stress this enough. It's very important that you guys, if you're new to these cars, I know Lionel has come out with these sound effects box cars, and they've been putting them out for decades, but I know they did a VisionLine cattle car that I never purchased, so this is my first VisionLine sound effects car for me, so it's real exciting for me. It's all new. It's new for me, but I can't stress enough that you read the manual to learn about everything that this car can do, because it's got some real cool features on it. I'll try to summarize the manual to make it a little bit more enjoyable. If you're thinking about purchasing this car, I'll do my best to go over all the features, and so you guys can see what it's about. So let's get into it. So I ordered this car when it came out, like I said, in the 2021 Volume 1 catalog, and I wanted to get the Baltimore and Ohio because I didn't have the Time Saver Service Boxcar. I know that's a popular design, and I wanted to have one for my collection. But interesting thing that happened was that in the fall I ended up purchasing the exact same car from at a train show with the same design, and the car is exactly the same as far as even down to the car number. So the printing and the graphics are exactly the same. I'll show you guys a side-by-side view of it. Okay, so the new VisionLine Boxcar is on the left, and the car that I purchased at a train show is on the right. And like I said, it's amazing. The graphics are exactly the same. The only difference between these two cars that you guys I'm sure can tell, is that the car on the right has a different color blue. It's a darker color blue, which I kind of like that a little bit better than the lighter blue. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I actually have two of these now, but one has the sound effects and one is just the basic PS1 boxcar. So the graphics on this car are pretty nice. They're nice and clearly legible, and you've got the catwalk up above here with the handbrake over here on the right. The sliding doors do open, but I think they're meant to be closed, because when you open them, of course, you're going to see the circuitry and wires inside the boxcar, but they do open. Another feature with this car is that on this side here, you've got one of the features is you can remotely uncouple this car from the train. It's got the remote uncoupling feature that you can use on the cab 1 or cab 2 controller to remotely uncouple the car from the train. I wanted to give you guys a closer look at the underside of the boxcar so that you could see where the switches are. So on the left-hand side, you've got the min-max switch, and the min-max switch, what that does is that the max, when you have it set to max, you get all the sounds. When you set it to min, you only get some of the sounds as the car moves, and you don't get the dialogue. And there's two reasons why they have a min-max. One of the reasons is that if you don't want to hear all the sounds, if you think they're kind of annoying, you can turn it to min. Also, if you have multiple VisionLine sound boxcars like this one, on one train consist, what you want to do is you want to set one boxcar to max and the rest to min, so that when it's lashed up in a train consist through the legacy system, the dialogue will only come through one boxcar, but all the other boxcars will have the train noise as the train is moving, the rail clatter and the bumps and the grinds. You don't want to have the dialogue come through multiple boxcars at the same time. So you have one set to max, and which will give the dialogue sounds when you activate them, and the rest of the car is set to min. So continuing with this switch here, this is the run program switch, just like on a locomotive. Over here, kind of wedged in between the undercarriage detail, you've got the pipe with the framework of the boxcar. In between, there's the master volume switch. And then on the left-hand side here is the speaker where the sound comes through. And you can see the pickup roller on one of the trucks. Both trucks actually have pickup rollers. So the way that it works with this car is that it's like an engine in that you have to put it into program run. You have to put it in a program. It's got a program run switch. And you add this car just like you would a locomotive. You put it into program, you assign it an ID number, and then you put it into run. Once it has an ID number, you have to tell it that you have to give it, you have to tell the legacy system that it is a freight sounds car. And I'll show you that here in a minute on how to do that. Also, they recommend that when you run this car, you want to create a train and add this car into a lash up. So you would add this car like you would a second locomotive. So that you get the better sound effects when it's included in a lash up. So when you have this train in a lash up, the way that you bring it up is that when you're controlling the locomotive, you have the train on the screen on the cab 2 controller, and when you want to access the freight car, sounds car, you hit the train link button, and that brings up the freight sounds buttons to control all the different sounds. And you can also remotely uncouple the car, like I said before. And I'll show you guys the buttons here in a minute, what it looks like and what they do. But then when you want to go back to controlling the locomotive, you hit the train link button again, and it goes back, flips back to the train control, and you can change the speed of the locomotive, blow the horn, whatever, and continue on your way. Okay, I wanted to give you guys a closer look at the buttons that control the different sounds on this VisionLine boxcar. Starting with the upper left, you've got the volume up and the volume down. If you hit aux 1 right here, before you hit the volume, either up or down, you'll only control the volume of the background sounds, like the rail clatter and the bump and the grind and all that. But if you want to control the overall sound, everything, you don't hit the aux 1 and you just hit the up and the down button. This doesn't do anything. This is an A and an A minus. This only applies to the cab 2 controller. You can independently control turn the rail clatter off and on using the A, and the A with the slash in front of it. So that turns the rail clatter on and off. The B turns the grinding noise on and off independently. Again, only through the cab 2 controller. Cab 1, you can't do that. Up here these are the load and unload sequence buttons. This is load, this is unload. This up here is the flat spot sound that you can activate for the flat spot sound effect on the car. This is the aux 2 button. I wanted to show you guys how to tell the legacy system that this is a freight sounds car, you have to, after you add it and give it its own ID number, you need to tell the legacy system that it's a freight sounds car, so that when you pull the car up on your controller, the correct buttons will come up, as you can see with the buttons here. So what you do is once the car is loaded, you hit the info button, and then what you'll do is you'll scroll with the red wheel until you get to the second tab. And then it starts at accessory, then passenger car, then breakdown unit, and then freight sounds. And then you activate it, you press this button here once it's highlighted. See, it's already highlighted because I've already programmed it. You hit this button to activate it, to tell the legacy system that it's a freight sounds car, and then you hit info again, and it brings you back to the ID number screen. So probably the coolest feature about this car is that it comes with a couple of scenarios, loading and unloading scenarios, that you can activate. And what it enables you to do is, say that you want to take this car and you want to simulate loading it in 3 different locations and then unloading it at a 4th location. So what you do is you pull the car up to the siding that you want to simulate loading the car at the first location. You pull it up, you stop the train, then you hit the train link button. Then you hold down the load button, the number 3 button, the one I showed you on the button diagram on the Cab 2 controller. You hit that button, and if you just tap it, you'll get the sound of the foreman giving orders to load the car, and it'll last 2 to 3 seconds. But if you hold the button down, the sound will continue as long as you hold that button down, and the foreman will continue to give orders, and you'll hear sounds in the background. And then if you hold it down after a certain period of time, the foreman will start to get impatient and say that things need to be sped up. And then when you release the button, the foreman concludes and says, "Okay, that was a good job. You guys did a good job. We're all through." Then to load the next scenario, you actually have to physically move the car down the track, and it doesn't matter how far. You can move it however far you want, but the car has to be moved so that it loads the next scenario. Then when you come to the second location, you do the same thing. You hit the train link button, and you hold down the load button, and if you want to hold it down, if you just want a short dialogue, you just tap it. You get the sound of a completely different foreman with different sounds and like a different environment. And then you go to the third location, same thing. But you get completely different sounds. And then to reset it back to the first scenario, you have to hit the unloading sequence button. And so you move the car to the last location, and you either tap or hold down the unload button after you hit the train link button, and you'll get the unloading sounds of the boxcar, the car unloading with the foreman giving orders to unload everything. And that resets it. It doesn't matter how far you move the car, but if you don't move it, it's going to keep loading that same scenario until you actually physically move it. But that's a really cool feature, and you don't have to load all 3 scenarios. If you just want to do 1 or 2, and then you do the unloading as the last, that will reset it back to 1. Regardless, you don't have to go through all 3 loading scenarios. So that's a really cool feature. So a couple cool other features about this car that you can do is that through the remote, you can turn the clatter sound on and off with that, like I showed you on the buttons on the remote, the A with the A and the slash through it, and then the B with the B with the slash through it. So the A turns the the rail clatter on and off, and the B turns the grinding sound of that's to simulate the sound of the flanges grinding against the inside of the rail, the flange on the wheels. You could turn that feature off hitting the B button, or the B with the slash. You can turn it on and off. And then there's another cool sound effect that you can activate. It's the flat spot sound effect, in that when the train is running, the number 2 button on the remote next to the loading button will give a flat spot sound. You have to activate it while the train is moving, and as the train rolls around the track, the sound of the flat spot gets louder and louder. And then 2 to 3 seconds after the train stops, the sound of the foreman will come on and say that the wheel was fixed and that we're good to go. So that's a cool effect. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the run through all the different sound effects scenarios that I was talking about earlier. What I'll do is I'll pull the car into position and run the first scenario, then move the train about a foot or whatever. Then do the second scenario, move the train again, do the third scenario, move the train again, and then do the unloading scenario. And then I will do a short running session so you guys can hear what this car sounds like as it's running around the track. And then at the end, I will activate the flat spot feature, which is a really cool feature that I mentioned earlier, so you can see what that's about. So I hope you guys enjoy this little running session. As you can see, I'm using my CSX SD70. I haven't run this engine in a while, so I thought it'd be fun to pull this out. So here we go.
This is the yard office. Do you copy? I copy that. Over. We should have you rolling in just a moment. Watch your signals. Over. Yes, sir. We'll fire up. Out. Keep those boxes moving. Be careful of that one. It says it's fragile. Grab that straggler. Why is it still on the dock? Keep it coming. Help guide that forklift onto the rail car. Let's keep them moving. Come on. All right, let's move. Hustle up. Keep it coming. We're done here. We got more cargo to pick up at the next stop, so let's go. Close this one up and open up the next car. This dust in here is killing me. Anyone else? Oh yeah, me too. 10 more crates coming in. Alright, close this one up and open up the next car. Let's get this finished up. Come
on. Come on, we ain't got all day. Guys, let's move. Secure that door. We're done here. Finally, dang. Let's move on.
Make sure that loading ramp is secure. Give me some more water. The dust is killing me. Forklift coming through. Make way. That's 30 more pallets, right? No, that's wrong, Unit. Let's get finished up. Let's step up the pace. Come on! Well, that was whatever. Let's get those forklifts in here. All right. Let's sweep off those ramps, too. Pull them out. I want these cars empty in 20. Let's try to keep up. Pull them out. Let's move. That's how it's done.
Okay, so that concludes it for this video. I just wanted to give my final thoughts on this car. Like I said before, I absolutely love this car. Some of the features that, I don't know if you guys noticed it on the video, was that, you know, the clickety-clack of the car as it goes around the track speeds up as the train goes faster, in direct correlation with its speed, which I think is just a really cool feature. It gives it a real realistic sound effect. I have a Rail Sounds tank car that I did a review on a couple years ago that I don't think has this feature, that the speed, the clickety clacks corresponds with the speed of the car. Also with the flat spot that I just played at the end, you could hear that the sound of the flat spot slowed down as the train was slowing down, which I again think is really cool. Another great feature, of course, is the dialogue. The dialogue is just so cool if you really pay attention to what is said. You've got the foreman talking, and then you have the workmen that are having a conversation with him as they're doing the work. And you've got the sound effects in the background, and you've got, you know, the sound of 3 different scenarios and then an unloading scenario, which really gives a lot of good variety in the sound effects department. So I just really love this car. It's a lot of fun. Again, it's my first VisionLine Rail Sounds car, so it's kind of new to me, and hopefully this video will give you guys a good demonstration on what this car can do. I enjoyed making this video, and look out for my next video coming up soon. So until then, take care.